Perfect. Okay, so let's explain what we're doing here. I have the Neje, maybe if you're from Mexico. This is the Neje Master 2, right there, we can see. And basically, the problem with this is that in your iPad app, when you want the laser to home back to a specific place, it works. But when you want to use a more advanced software like Lightburn, which is the kind of preferred Gerbil G-code software, it does not do that very well. And the motor will just run into the axis and go and make a really bad noise. So on boards 1 through 10, homing is not enabled by default, and you have to bridge a couple pins. So you have to bridge the bottom pad here. I guess I can point with this little segment. You have to do the bottom pad here over to this pad, and then you have to do the upper pad on that switch over to that pad. And once you solder, or as they say in their PDF, weld, you should be good to go. And basically what this is doing is it's taking the limit switch from the other axis and then this limit switch, and it's transferring them to the Arduino board, which is what is talking to the Gerbil motherboard right here, which is the Arduino board, and then over to your computer via USB. So we can look at the other side of the board, which is much more interesting, and see that you have two motherboards here. You have this guy and an Atmel, and then an STC 32. So this is the Neje proprietary board with a Bluetooth antenna that you can see on this side. And then this little board is the Atmel, which is the surface mount Arduino controller. And basically what we're doing is this has exposed pads here. So you can actually see the traces that go from here right over to here. And then we are connecting the limit switches, which is this limit switch, and the limit switch that's coming in over this port to the Atmel board. Now, in the later versions of this, it is already supported. The traces are already there, but this was the version off of Banggood that was $200, and the other ones were much more, like $250, $300. And it looks like really the only difference is that. So what I've done is I've pre-cut a couple of these, which are kind of like prototyping style jumpers for breadboards. And so this one is going to go from this pad, and then I'm going to strip and stick it right there. And then this one is going to go from this pad, or how did I want to do this? This pad? Something like that. And it's going to go from this upper pad here and bend around and get soldered into there. So we have our nice hot and ready soldering iron. We have our solder right here. And then we also have our work pad that is fairly heat resistant. So first step is to cut a hole in the box. So we're gonna do that by cutting this wire here. And let me make sure we're all in frame and everything. I'm gonna hold this right in place, just like that. And then I'm gonna grab this right there. And that looks to be about right. Now I'm gonna consult the manual here. And it looks like that is the correct way to go about things. So we're going to strip this back. And I will have links if you're watching this after the fact to all these tools and wires and things. So if you find yourself in my same predicament, you can help yourself. All right, so this will be our first one. So let's go ahead and do what we do and solder this up and hope we don't break a $200 tool. Yeah. All right. So the first thing I want to do is heat up this pad and add a little bit more solder. And I find always adding solder to things that are pre-done like this or with drones or things like that help you A, remove things, and B, solder more things. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this wire and we're just going to tin the little end of it right here. So, shaky hands. I've had way too much caffeine today. Here we go. All right. So now we have a little bit of solder there, and it is time to attach this wire to this pin here. So I'm going to try to get to where I'm looking good in the camera here. That looks marginally out of focus, so let's back it on up. Maybe. All right. I'm going to actually switch focus modes so I can maybe get this exactly how it needs to be. I'll go to manual focus. And I'm not exactly sure how to change the focus in here. So we'll just hope that that is in focus enough. I think it is. Okay. So we're going to come in here and touch this pin, heat up that solder. There we go. Get it nice and flowy. Perfecto. So I always check my solder joints violently, which means we can see that that is now on there, but it's not going anywhere. It is fully stuck where it needs to be. So step 2 is to put this wire through this hole. And it looks like I have slightly miscalculated in my bend, so I'm going to fix that now. It looks like I have another person in the audience. Hello. I hope this is helpful. I'm going to strip that back again. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so maybe we get a bit. There we go. A bit wider view of the space here. Come on. I know. I need some actual wire strippers here. All right. So we're going to bend that. We're going to push it through this little pin here, through the pad. Oop. Try that again. There we go. And now we can see on the other side, we'll zoom back in here, that we have our little wire through the pad there. So we're going to solder that in. There we go. She's soldered. Okay, so jumper 1 is complete. right there from pad to jumper. And then they said the next one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a 6-pin in. So it's going to be, we're moving over one empty, and then we're going to go there. And that's going to come from this upper pad right there. So I'm going to cut this wire down ever so slightly so we can solder that right there. And then we'll do a rebend and fit for the other side. Looks like we got another audience member again. I hope this is helpful to you. Feel free to ask any questions in the good old chat box there. This is largely the same process. We're just going to tin the wire, this little end, and then attach it to the pad. There we go. Wire is tinned. I'm going to add a little bit more solder to the pad itself. There we go. Pad has some brandy fresh new solder. And now we're going to check our focus. Make sure we're in focus. Zoom out a little bit again. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to double, triple check here that I'm doing the right pad. And it's the right top pad, so it's that one. Going to pin 6, which is, man, this is interesting, to say the least. Okay. So we're going to skip over one pin and go there. So let's go back to our stream here, and we're going to solder that in. In place. Oh. Zoom in again. It's a little tricky to do with camera, 2 hands. Soon I'm actually going to have an overhead rig that's going to make this so much simpler. Thank you to Brian for recommending those IKEA lights. That is the route I'm going. And again, I recommend checking your solder joints violently, because if it falls off, that's not good. So that's on there now. So now it's time to route this down and cut it to length. So we are going to zippity-doo-dah this little guy right there over the pin we want, and then cut the extra off. Just like that. And then we're going to strip this little guy back. And I think we're actually going to that pin. Yeah. I'm going to do this off camera because it's easier to strip this. There we go. Bend the wire. Okay. So now we have the wire bent and stripped. We're going to put it through the correct hole, which from what the Neje people say is hole number 6, counting from the square pin. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 and 8. So now we just have to solder on this side. Right to there. I'm going to heat her up. And I think this is really forward thinking of Neje to say, you know, we're not going to put this in there, but we're going to leave the development pins open for other people to use as they see fit. It's pretty cool. All right, so now I have a super low profile jump that looks to be correct. I'm going to cut off the X's here. And now I get to put the motherboard back together, and we'll hope that this enables auto homing. So I can put that motherboard back together on stream because why not? But safety first, we are going to switch back to autofocus. There we go. We're going to zoom way out, and we're going to shut off the soldering iron. I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten to shut off the soldering iron and come back the next day, and I'm like, ooh, I made a mistake. Okay. So we're going to take all these little odds and ends and put them on the magnetic parts tray over here. Then we're going to, oh geez, we're sticking. Grab our parts tray and grab all the parts we need to put this motherboard back together. So we need these 4 spacers, these 4 tiny bits, then these 4 long screws, and last but not least, these nuts right here. Okay, I think that's everything. So it's time to put this back together. So let's get Mr. Laser in the picture. Oh yeah, Mr. Laser. Oop. I'm tied up here. Okay, so it looks like a big black blob on camera, I'm aware. But the motherboard is going to fit right here. And in order to see that, we're going to up our ISO a little bit so you can see just a bit better. It's going to blow out the white table, but oh well. Okay, let's see. Now, I was told in the Facebook group where I posted for the Neje Master, which maybe that's where our second audience member is coming from, or maybe from the Discord, but that this was the wrong Facebook group to post this in, and it's a software support only group, to which I replied, well, this is a hardware change that enables a new software feature. So technically this would be considered software support since we're supporting functionalities of the software. But whether they care or think I'm right or wrong, I'm not sure. So the first thing I want to do is put our 4 screws through like this. And it's a nice tight fit, so they're not just going to slide back out, which is fantastic. So that lets us build our little motherboard stack easily. And there's the next one. And then finally this guy. And the next step is to put these 4 large spacers on. And then this fits here. So we can see we have power, USB that fits in these 2 holes, and then big red button fits right there. So we're gonna try to move this axis out of the way for now. And then place the board where it needs to go. These clips out of the way. There we go, like that. And then we have the 4 tiny spacers which is the main reason we had to keep this so low profile here. There's our 4 tiny spacers, and then we have our nice little shield. It's going to fit right there. And then finally, these nuts here, we're going to try to thread on the bolts. So all in all, the motherboard's pretty easy to get on and off of this thing, which is extra handy. Come on. Oop. Let's go. Come on. There we go. All right, so we're back on, and so I'm going to rotate this guy around like that. No, that's not going to help us at all. Maybe clean up your desk, Alex. Okay. Shift that over here. All right, so now I got to plug the ports back into the board. And they're 2 different size ports, so you cannot mess that up, but don't take that as a challenge. Okay, there is number 1 and number 2. And then finally, I'm going to use this Allen key to tighten these up. So I'm just going to grab these nuts back here and then spin Allen key to make sure we have a nice tight, taut fit there. Okay. Oh, geez. All right. And that is that. We have now performed our surgery on the Neje Master 2. So I think it's time to test. So I'm going to move some stuff out of the way here. So basically, let me stop this camera back down so we can get out of blown out mode. So basically what we're looking at trying to make sure happens is when this axis goes this way, can you hear that little? That's the switch on the board being clicked. And that before was not connected to the Arduino board. And now it supposedly is via the Chinese guide. Now this has a switch as well. You can hear that. And supposedly now Lightburn will be able to detect when this comes and clicks home. Where before when you hit home it would go because it had no idea to know that it clicked. So we'll see how that works. Brian's saying it's a major improvement. That's good to know. I was thinking about buying that little one that almost is like a canopy thing, but I did not. All right, so I'm going to open Lightburn on my computer, and we'll see how this works. Okay, so I'm going to plug the power in, so we may see magic smoke. I hope not. Got a fan. Motor clicks. Console says Gerbil is there. So things are looking good, but this isn't any different than before. So I'm going to go to Edit, Machine Settings, and turn on Homing Cycle. And hit right. And it says OK. And now I should just be able to click Home. Perfect. Look at that. That is a homed machine. So I can move this way out, open up Lightburn, hit home. There we go. Look at that. Success. The internet didn't lie this time. I know, it's surprising. I hope this helped out anybody who is having issues or bought this and thought it would home with Lightburn and it's not. If you have any questions, shoot them down in the comments. I'm going to add a description that has links to all the tools you need. So this, the little wire jumpers, soldering iron, solder, all that stuff, and the link to this guy on Amazon and Banggood. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will be sharing my laser stuff going forward. Thanks for watching.